Hi, what's up, everybody? This is Alfred from Practical Code Academy, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can create an animated form input. For example, here we have this form. We have two inputs, the username and password. And when I focus on one of the inputs, notice what is going to happen. It's going to start animated, where the label going to go to the top, and the placeholder will be revealed, and also the border bottom here, or the line in the bottom here, will start to change color from the left to right. As you can see, for the password, for the username, it's nice, cool effect that you can add it to your forms. And then inspiration for this, I get it from Angular Material framework. So if you go and search for Angular Material, and you get a bunch of UI components for Angular Material, and you go here for the form field, or this is the legacy form input. As you can see, the label will go on the top, and then the placeholder will be revealed, and also this line will change the color to be purple. And that's what I'm going to show you today, just using plain CSS, doing the same effect here. And probably in a later video, I'm going to create the outline form here, which is pretty similar, unless you have like an outline surrounding it. Try to do it on your own. If you don't, it's fine. I'll create a video for it. I hope you're going to like this video, and let's get started. I'm going to start by creating a folder for our project here. I'm going to call it animated form input field. I'm going to open it with Visual Studio Code. Then I'm going to start by creating the files I'm going to need for this project, which in that case, the HTML file. I'm going to call it index.html. Also, I'm going to create a styling sheet, which is style.css. Close this. In my HTML file, I'm going to create a boilerplate using Emmet. I'm going to change the title. Okay, inside the body here, I'm going to do a div with a container class. So I'm going to do class container. Inside my container will be the form itself. So I'm going to do a form tag. I don't need the action, so I'm going to take it out. Inside the form, I'm going to wrap each input field with a wrapper, and I'm going to call it form group. So I'm going to do a div with a class form group. And now this, I'm going to have an input field with type text for the username. I don't need to give it a name. I'm just going to give it an ID here, which is going to be username. And also I'm going to need a label for it. So I'm going to do label, and for, you put inside the for here the ID of the input field, which is also going to be username. So let's add a class. For the class, I'm going to give it form control. I'm using here bootstrap classes, as you can see, but you can name the classes whatever you want. Also, I need to set the autocomplete off. That's it for the text field, or the username, or the email, whatever he entered. I'm going to copy it here. I'm going to do the same thing for the password. Also form group, however, the type will be password. The ID will be password. And I don't need the autocomplete off here. And the label will be for the password. And for the label here, I'm going to put password. here user name. And that's it pretty much for the markup, except I always keep forgetting to link my styling sheet, which is going to be style.css. Let's see. I'm going to open it with the live server. Here we are. One thing I want to add, it's going to be the line that we're going to, the animated line. I'm just going to create an empty div here for that animated line. I'm going to show you how we're going to style it in the CSS. But I just want you to know that this empty div is going to be the div responsible. Let me show you the original. So this animated line here, the purple line, this is actually the div, the empty div that I'm adding here. So each input field here consists of a label, the input field itself, and an empty div. So now here's the label, this is the input field, and this is the div. Well, that's been said for just the structure of the HTML. Now let's do the styling. I'm going to open my styling sheet here. And I'm going to start by resetting the browser defaults. So I'm going to use the universal selector. I'm going to do margin 0, padding 0, box sizing border box. For the body itself, for the body tag, I want the font family to be Arial. Save that. Also, I want the height of the body to take 100% of the viewport height. And the reason I'm doing this because I'm going to use flex or the flex box to center this container in the middle of the screen. So let's do that. So I'm going to do display, flex, and now I can do justify content center and align items center, and that's going to put it in the middle of the screen. Now let's style the container that's having all these elements inside it. So container class, I'm going to select the container class. I'm going to do minimum width to be 350 pixels. And the box shadow, 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 5 pixels, RGBA. Just adding a shadow to the box itself or this container class of 0 black color, the shadow, and with opacity 0.4. And when I save this, here it is. As you can see the shadow now. Definitely I need a padding, which in that case I'm going to do 2 rem. Also, I'm going to need a border radius to make the corners rounded. So I'm going to do 5 pixels. Okay, look much better now. Okay, we will start by the wrapper, which in that case the form group. All I need for the form group to be positioned relative. Now I can go for the input field, which in that case form control. And for the input fields, I want to set the width to be 100%. Also the border to be none. And the border bottom to be 2 pixels solid. And light gray color, which is CCC. I'm going to give it a margin, top and bottom of 1 rem. Left and right 0, padding also top and bottom 0.25 rem, left and right 0. Okay, now the trick, we want to get this label on top here inside the input field. And it looked like I forget the outline. So let's take that out, outline none. Now we want to get the label on top here of the input field. To do that, I'm going to target the label. And I'm going to position it as absolute. And now I need to do the top 0, left 0. Okay, it's still on top of the input field. So I'm not gonna set the top to be 0. I'm gonna just try a couple numbers until I make it exactly on top of the input field. So let's try 10%. Yeah, it's bringing it a little bit down. So I'm gonna do 20%, and that's much better. Yeah, this is much better. And now I can enter whatever I want to enter here. I'm gonna set the color to be light gray. Okay, good. Gonna give it a width. I want it to take the whole width, so I'm gonna do width 100%. And notice now when I hover over it here, outside here, this is technically the label. It's not gonna give me the text cursor as I'm in the input here. So I want to change the cursor to text. So whenever anywhere I hover over it, it will always as a text. That's good. Now we want to focus on the focus status for this input fields. So I want to change the label every time the user focus on an input field. To do that, I'm going to do form control, which is my input field. When it gets focus, so I'm going to use the focus pseudo class, and I'm going to target the label sibling. So I'm going to do the tilde selector here. And what I want to do when the user focus on it, technically 3 things. I want to change the font, make it smaller font. I want to change the color, and I want to change the position to make the top go a little bit to the top. So here, I'm going to do the color to be purple, font size to be 0.7 rem, and the top, I can put it to -20% to push it to the top. And now when I focus inside this input, as you can see, it goes to the top -20, it turned to purple, and also the font size gets smaller. But it's happening so fast, so I need to add a transition here to the label. So I'm going to do transition all 0.3 seconds to make the transition smooth. And now this is the effect that we're having right now. The question now, how are we going to add the color of this underline? When it gets focused, we want to color it as purple. Well, that's simple. So I want to access the div, which is first it's the sibling of the form control or the input field. So the form control, it's the direct sibling, which is div. Let's use the tilde here as well, selector. And in that case, I want the height of that line to be 2 pixels, the width to be 100%, and the background color to be purple, the position to be absolute, and as you can see now it's start to appear here. Now I want to move it and put it on top of the gray line. To do that, since I did the position absolute, I can use top and try to test 65, for example. It's not exactly on top of it, but it's close, so I can put 70%, and that will match it on top of the gray line. Also, I'm going to set the left to be 0. Okay, in the beginning, I want it to be not shown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the width to be 0%. And when the user focus on it, I want to set the width 100%. And I also want to add the transition here, the transition of the width from 0 to 100. In that case, I'll select all. I'm just going to give it the period of 0.3 seconds. So I'm going to same selector here. However, when the form control gets focused, So I'm going to use the focus pseudo class. What I want to do to this div, simply make the width 100%. I did a mistake here. It's not transform, it's transition. And now, as you can see, it's going to start from the all the way to the left to the right. And you can actually reverse this direction because we set the left 0. If you make it right 0, so I'm going to start from the right to the left. As you can see, it's going to start from all the way to the right and fill all this color all the way to the left. So it's up to you. I'm just going to highlight this or commented left 0. And here we go. Now the problem will be when I add a placeholder for this input fields. When I try to add a placeholder attribute, enter your username. If I save that, as you can see, the label and the placeholder will be on top of each other. We initially want to hide the placeholder, and when the user focus on it, we show the placeholder. We also add a placeholder here for the password. Placeholder, enter your password. Okay. Now let's go to the style. To access the placeholder, simply use the placeholder selector, the pseudo selector, placeholder, and that will work for Chrome and Firefox. By the way, I want the opacity to be 0, so it's not going to show, as you can see. Also, I'm going to set the color to be a little bit lighter, which is AAA. Also, the transition, I want all 0.3 seconds, and I'm going to give it a font size of 1 rem. Of course, you can see all these effects now because we set the opacity to 0. However, when the user or the form control get focus, we want to access the placeholder, and we want to set the opacity to be 1. Okay, now when I get focus, as you can see, the opacity of the placeholder, it will show because we set it to 1. Similar to the password here. Yep. And actually, I'm going to add a button here, similar to the whatever I show you in the beginning of the video. That's easy. Here in the form, I'm just going to add a button. I'm going to call it, give it a class, btn. I'm going to call it login. Now I'm going to style it. I'm going to go up here. btn. I'm going to give it a width, 100%. Border, none. Outline, none. Cursor to be pointer. I'm going to give it a padding of 0.5 rem, top and bottom, 0 left and right. The background color, purple. Color of the text to be white. And box, I'm going to give it a border radius of 5 pixels. I'm going to give it an opacity of 0.8. Transition, all, or in that case, we only want to do the opacity. So transition of opacity, 0.3 seconds. And when the user hover over it, so I'm going to use the hover pseudo class, I want to set the opacity to be 100%, which is 1 case. So it's a little bit transparent. And when I hover over it, as you can see, it's full color. There's no functionality to the login here. However, I'm just going to make the form look good as a real login form. We did here the placeholder. As I said, this is only for Chrome and Firefox. To use it for Internet Explorer, we're going to do the same thing for MS. input placeholder. This is just the prefix for Internet Explorer. Just gonna copy everything here, put it here. I'll do the same thing. Gonna copy it down here. However, it's not gonna be the placeholder selector. It's just gonna be ms input placeholder. I save that, and let's test it on Edge, Internet Explorer Edge. Just gonna copy it here, paste it right here, and as you can see, it's working. Okay, perfect. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video, and if you do like it, hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed to our channel, subscribe now to get more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.